Nobody warned me. And I'm guessing nobody warned you either. You're 17, maybe 18. You don't really understand money yet. Like, actually understand it. Not just know that you need it. You've never had a real bill in your name. You've never sat down and done math on what interest actually does to a number over 10 years, and they sit you down, hand you a form, and ask you to take on more debt than most people's first car before you've had your first real job, and you do it. Because what's the alternative? Everybody's going. Your friends are going. Your parents want you to go. Your teacher spent 4 years preparing you to go. The whole world around you is pointing in one direction and calling it the future. So you sign, and then life starts. And somewhere between that moment and right now, the numbers stopped feeling like a plan and started feeling like a ceiling. Like something sitting on top of every decision you try to make. Can I afford to move out? Can I take that lower paying job I actually want? Can I think about a house? Can I think about having a child? The degree is on the wall. The loan is still in the account. And nobody who told you to sign is helping you figure out how to get out from under it. That's what this video is about. Let's start with the actual numbers because I think most people genuinely don't know how bad this is. Americans right now owe 1.87 trillion. That's right, trillion dollars in student loan debt. Not billion, trillion. 44 million borrowers, average balance of almost 40K, and most people, not some, most take between 10 and 25 years to pay it off. Think about what that actually means for your life. You're 22 when you graduate. If you're average, you're still paying this off at 42, maybe 47. You are middle aged before the debt from your early 20s is finally gone. And that's if nothing goes wrong. That's if you don't lose a job, don't get sick, don't have a kid earlier than you planned, don't have any of the 10,000 things that happen to people in the span of 2.5 decades. The average monthly payment is $336 a month. That doesn't go towards rent equity, doesn't go into savings, doesn't go toward anything that builds. It just goes backwards toward a version of you that was barely an adult, who had no idea what they were actually agreeing to. Now, Canada, specifically Ontario, because I think a lot of Canadians have this idea that the American student debt situation is a them problem. That here we have OSAP and it's more reasonable and it protects people. It used to be closer to true. OSAP for a long time was genuinely one of the better student aid systems in North America. Students who came from lower income families could get a huge chunk of their aid as grants, money that didn't have to come back. Not a loan, a grant, free. That's changing right now, and the change is enormous. Starting August 2026, this year, the structure flipped. Before, up to 85% of your OSAP could come as grants depending on your situation. Now, grants are capped at 25%. At least 75% has to come as loans. One student actually sat down and did the math on what this means for them personally. Under the old system, they were getting $22,000 in total OSAP, 12.5K in grants, and $9,750 in loans. Under the new system, their grants would drop to around $5,000. Their loans would jump to 16,500. That's nearly 7K more in debt per year over 4 years. That's $28,000 more in loans than they would have carried before. By graduation, they'd be 21 years old, carrying $66,000 in debt. $66,000 before their real first paycheck, before they've had a single year to build anything. And the government's justification? Doug Ford said it puts Ontario in the middle of the path compared to other provinces. The middle of the path. That's what they called burying a generation in debt before they can vote in their second election. Here's the thing about student debt that makes it different from other kinds of debt we have talked about on this channel. It hits you before any defenses. When you take out a credit card, you're at least an adult with some income, some understanding of how money works, some ability to say no. When you buy a car with a loan, you have a job, you've signed things before, you know at least roughly what you're getting into. Student debt comes before all of that. It comes at the exact moment in your life when you have the least financial literacy, the least life experience, and the most social pressure pointing you toward one decision. And it stays. In America, student loan debt is one of the only forms of debt you cannot discharge in bankruptcy. You cannot walk away. You cannot get a fresh start the way people do from credit card debt, from medical bills, from almost any other financial disaster. It follows you. The government resumed collections on defaulted loans in May 2025. Wage garnishment, tax refund seizure. People who fell behind during the pandemic, who thought they had breathing room, suddenly finding money disappearing from their paychecks before it even reached them. You took on this debt at 18, and the rules were built to make sure it never lets you go. But now, I need to say something real about who this hits hardest. Because it's not equal, it's never equal. 4 years after graduation, 48% of black student borrowers owe more than they borrowed on the day they graduated. After 4 years of payments, more in debt than they started because the interest is compounding faster than the payments are reducing the principal. Because the jobs available in many fields don't pay enough to make a real dent. Because the real wealth gap that existed before the degree got wider, not smaller. Because of how the debt works. In Ontario, racialized households make up less than a third of all households, but over half of all households with student debt. The system told everyone the same thing: go to school, take the loan, the degree will be worth it. But it didn't land on everyone the same way. And the people who most needed a ladder out sometimes found the debt made the climb harder, not easier. This is the same mechanism we've talked about in every video in this channel. It's riba, not in the flashy, predatory way of a 24% credit card. Something quieter, and in some ways more dangerous, because it comes wrapped in the language of opportunity and investment and your future. But strip that away, and what is it really? A system that takes money from people who have nothing yet, who are borrowing against the future they can't see clearly, and transfers it steadily, reliably, over decades to institutions that already have everything. That's riba. Whether it's called that or not, and the thing that makes student loan riba uniquely brutal is that it was designed to be inescapable. Other forms of debt at least give you an exit. This one was specifically structured so there isn't one. If something in this just landed for you, if you're sitting there thinking about your own number, or your kid's number, or your younger sibling who's about to sign, subscribe. Every video on this channel exists to show you what these systems actually are when you take the marketing away. Like if it helped, and leave a comment. Tell me what your degree was in, and whether you honestly think the debt was worth it. Not what you tell people, what you actually think at 11 at night when you're looking at your balance. Watch these next two. We did the whole minimum payment trap, how credit card companies mathematically engineer your debt to last for 14 years, and the buy now pay later video, how Klarna and Afterpay are designed to switch off the part of your brain that knows you can't afford something. They all connect. Same system, different packaging. Same goy slop. So, what do you actually do? If you're in Canada, know the difference between your federal and your provincial loan. Federal student loans in Canada are permanently interest free since 2023. The Ontario portion charges prime plus 1%. That distinction matters heavily. Pay down the provincial piece first because that's the one actually growing. And this one, most people don't know. You can decline the loan portion of your OSAP and still receive any grants you qualify for. The grant doesn't depend on taking the loan. If you have another way to cover costs without borrowing, that option is sitting there. Most students never know it exists. If you're in the US, don't default before you understand your options. Income driven repayment plans cap your payments based on what you actually earn. Public service loan forgiveness is real. Over 1.2 million Americans have had their entire remaining balance erased through that program as of early 2026. 90.6 billion in debt gone. If you work for a government employer or a nonprofit, look into it before you make another payment. And if you haven't signed yet, if you're still deciding whether to go, what to study, how much to borrow, ask the one question nobody asked you when you were sitting in that guidance counselor's office. Does the math actually work? Not the hope, not the optimism, not the what if it all goes perfectly scenario. The actual math, expected salary in the actual field, against the actual debt you'll carry out the door. The school won't tell you. The loan servicer won't tell you. The government form won't tell you. You have to ask yourself. You were a teenager when they put that paper in front of you. You did what everyone told you was the right thing. And maybe it was. Maybe the degree changed your life in ways that made every payment worth it. But a lot of people watching this are carrying something that doesn't feel like an investment anymore. Just feels heavy. Like a decision made by a younger version of themselves that the current version is still paying for every single month. That younger version didn't have a bad judgment, they had bad information and a system that was counting on exactly that.